Okay. Bow, chicka, bow, chicka, bow, chicka, bow. Then you meet my favorite character, and I don't know why. Maybe I have an alien kink? I don't know. I don't know.
Until he ends up actually eating two of the people there, two of the workers. And then they're like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good...
She wanted something like hot chocolate, and I said, no, I'm giving you like minty milk.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
I'm Ammiel.
And
welcome. Or Ammi Smell. Or Ammi. I was going to say Ammi Yell, but that just sounds like my name.
Oh, I like Ammiel. That's funny. And so welcome to Click and Flick. This is
where we talk about video games and movies, and we take a deep dive into them and tell you guys what we think about them.
Yes.
Yes or no.
All of our opinions. Yes or no. 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. That's it. It's ride or die here.
Or anything in between. Or
and
do you contradictory?
Yes, we do. Do you want to introduce the idea, the potential?
So we're going to be expanding once again onto another platform, people, and we are going to start streaming.
Yes.
A special Click and Flick exclusive TV review show on Twitch. So we're going to be watching TV shows and going episode by episode, or maybe a couple episodes at once, who knows, but going through and discussing what we like about it and what we don't like about it. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to start expanding into television and series, as well as talking about movies and games. So watch out.
So excited. Yes, keep an eye out for that. And so with that being said, today's click we're starting off with is coffee talk. Oh boy.
Coffee talk.
Coffee talk. Now.
Coffee talk.
I would love to keep up that accent, but there's no way I'd be able to keep it consistent. No.
We're not known for consistency here at Click and Flick.
Dang, yeah, you right. I heard about this game, oddly enough, from TikTok. It was supposed to be just kind of like a cozy game. It is a visual novel, and I've never played one before. I don't know if you have, but I have not dabbled. Okay. So Coffee Talk is an indie game. Like I said, it's a visual novel, and it came out on quite a few stations, actually. It released on January 29th of 2020 and came out on Microsoft, Mac, Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, which is really impressive. That's awesome. And for it being such a small game, like an indie game, I think the visuals, because it's like 2D, you don't move a lot. You just sit stationary. It's really neat and really well put together in that form of sense. Okay, so to start off, it is first person view. You are a barista at a coffee shop, but it's a late night coffee shop, and it takes place in Seattle, Washington, where it's rainy and cloudy all day long. And I love it.
I want to say that this video game has the same premise as a TV show I used to watch called Midnight Diner on Netflix, and it's actually a Japanese show,
Mhm.
and it's a noodle house that is open. They open up at midnight, and basically it's open all through the night, and it's about the different characters that come in and tell their stories.
That's pretty neat.
So each episode is like a different person who's there at the diner eating. And so
Okay.
I was like, oh, this is cool. It has kind of like the same premise where it's like you get the stories in the middle of the night that you're not going to get during the day.
Right. Which, I mean, the characters in the game make multiple references, like a coffee shop open at midnight. Wow, risky. I'm surprised you're still in business. And you're like, okay, here to serve you, but okay.
There's literally no competition at this time, so
yeah, right. Honestly, it is an interactive game, which is kind of neat because you are a barista. You're driven by the drinks that you're supposed to make these characters that come in. Some like tell you kind of what they want or surprise me or whatever. And depending on the kind of drink that you give them, basically affects their relationship with you and the outcome of the entire story, which is really neat.
When the guy came in, I played the demo, and so I only got the first night, but when the guy came in, he was like, I need something hot to keep me awake. And I was like, I don't like this guy for some reason, so I was going to give him warm milk. And he was all...
Oh, I'm so glad you did that. Because I have a story for the end. It's funny.
I was like, he gets warm milk.
There you
End
go.
of discussion. Nothing
to keep you awake tonight.
I didn't know it would change the outcome.
Right.
How
I didn't even know how sensitive the actual drink was to the game. I knew it had play, but I didn't know how sensitive. Surprisingly, it's pretty sensitive, I guess.
Oh god.
And yeah. So you start off as this barista, and the first person that walks through the door is this really pretty, like green, blue-haired girl who's got this like tattoo on her shoulder, and she's kind of just erratic, if you will. She's really peppy and energetic.
Yeah. She's super edgy and
edgy is a good word.
Just like the kind of person you'd expect to see at a coffee shop at midnight.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Almost exactly.
I agree. Yeah, and her name is Freya, and she is a huge part of the story. She's almost in this cafe every night. But she's trying to write a book, so she's coming to the coffee house just to stay up, write, and move on and get inspiration, I guess. Mm-hmm. And you learn how to make drinks as you go. You also have this phone that you can reference to of the amount of drinks you've made, like what recipes you're looking at, the people that you've come in contact with. It keeps kind of like a note, so you can kind of keep track of who's who, which is nice. And let's see. There's a Spotify app on it. I don't know if you got as far to use the phone, but it was pretty neat. Like, you could change the music and stuff. It was cool.
No, that demo ends after the first night, so...
I see, okay.
I only got to make a few coffees and listen to some stories.
I immediately was off-put by the dialogue. The dialogue was very, hold your hand, we're gonna get through this together, and I just expected it to be a lot more immersive, not really like, hi, I'm new here, I'm writing a book, you're a barista. Like, it was very hold-handy.
Like, let me explain to you every detail, because you can't come to the conclusions on your own.
Yep, exactly. Besides Freya, you end up meeting a succubus who's purple and cute, and I love her character. Her name's Lua. And you meet an elf whose name is Bailey's, with an S. Bailey's.
See, this is where it gets weird for me, because I'm like, a succubus and an elf in a coffee shop in Seattle. Okay, I'm here. I'm here, baby. Let's go.
Right? I had no expectations, but I was not expecting this. I did not expect it to be so supernatural, I guess. I'm with it. I'm cool. It's here.
Yeah, it's like a different world. It's like it's like a fantasy world in the real world.
Right.
Like Marvel kind of does that
Yeah.
stuff. Like Spider-Man is in New York, and you know.
Right. Yeah, it was really neat. It took me off guard, but
With elves.
Yeah, with elves. And with the two of them there at the coffee shop, you get this huge debacle between the two of them, that he's elvish, so his family is a hierarchy and they're prestigious, and the elf race is just high above everybody else, and the succubus race,
it's like Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yep.
With the catapults and the Monte Carlos.
Yeah. The Monte Carlos. Are you saying that because of the Leonardo DiCaprio version? Because I love that version.
No, it's just...
Oh no, I'm gonna cry.
No, but I just wanted to say their name's funny.
I'm glad you did. I love it. And I'm gonna forever say
the Capulets and the Montagues. I know their real names, people. Don't come at me.
I know, don't add her for it. So you get this whole discussion about their triumphs and tribulations with their relationship and how they can't be together. And then you know, this is going day by day. And I'm really just going to touch on when you meet the people. And then you meet Gala and Hyde. Gala and Hyde are a werewolf and a vampire. So Gala comes in. He's this big burly man with a bunch of Band-Aids all over him.
Oh my gosh. I hate that because I watched like the rest of the Twilight movies today while I was bored.
Yes!
So I'm like, vampires and werewolves. Let's just stay. Let's just stay in this world.
It gets better. They're in Seattle too, which I thought was hilarious. I
know.
The werewolf, he works as a hospital administrator, an ER, like admin. So he sees all the nasty, gory stuff in the ER, and then the vampire is a model, a supermodel.
Of course, Edward Cullen over here.
Edward Cullen, and he's super dark and mysterious, and is like throwing stuff like truth at your face, and you're like, okay, sure, Hyde.
Literal truth.
Yeah. So immediately at this point, I started to realize, I was like, I don't like that each individual character has some prestigious job title. Number one, it's not relatable. Number two, it doesn't really have to be relatable. But yeah. Like, oh, and it gets
nobody
worse,
in it is like a plumber or like only person is like you're a barista.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone is like, hello, I'm a rocket scientist. Like,
yeah. I mean, you do meet a cop, and his name is Georgie. And he's pretty, like, chill. Like, he just shows up and is smoking a cigarette. Like, he's the most nonchalant character out of the group. But, like, still. Then you meet a Catwoman who, she shows up as a cat initially. And then, poofs, transforms into this, like super...
oh my gosh.
Young and, like, really pretty girl. I think she's 18. I don't remember how old she is. She's, like, young. She's young. And her dad's worried about her because she's a singer and she's got a manager. And her dad is, like, upset because this manager's, like, taking advantage of her. And I was like, that's... That was the point where I was like, this
in
is
Seattle.
Too much. In Seattle.
I think they should have said it in LA or New York if they wanted to have all these superstars, right?
You would think, right?
I mean, if you're in Seattle and you're a superstar, let me know. Comment below.
I'm only like 4 hours from you. Can you just let me know? Oh gosh. And her dad is also a cat person, by the way. Her name is
Because I would
Rachel.
honestly believe it if it was LA and everyone there was like an actor or a supermodel or something, because that's kind
like
of
not to be stereotypical, but yes, like that is where all the fame and like everything happens. That's
where
typical.
things are made, so it's easier to live there.
Right. But oh, okay. So yeah, you get the gist that her dad is really worried about her. She's doing things outside of his knowledge, and her manager's creeping. Okay. Then you meet my favorite character, and I don't know why. Maybe I have an alien kink. I don't know. I don't know. But you meet this guy named Neil. Okay. So he's in the form of a spacesuit. He's in like an astronaut suit. And he's extraterrestrial. That's like really all the vibes that you get. And he says, let's just go with my name being Neil. And they kind of ask him like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm here to procreate. Like, I'm here to breed. And I was like, okay. And then I was like,
he's all 5'11", likes hikes, likes dogs, here to breed.
That's exactly what he was doing. He was on dating apps and he was like, fucking, oh god, 5'11", I'm here.
I think I matched with that guy, honestly. Just kidding.
Neil, where you at? Oh god. But I didn't know, I didn't know how to feel because he just kept talking about breeding and he was like, how does this happen? How do I go about it? And he drinks his drink with his finger. The cliche alien, I guess. Oh, wait. Extraterrestrial.
Instead of his mouth?
Yeah, instead of his mouth. So he was drinking with his finger.
But isn't it hot?
I think I don't remember if she made a comment, like if the barista made a comment or not, but they were definitely like, bro, you good? Like,
so is Neil in, like disguise as a human?
He never shows his face. So he's just in this astronaut
he's in like
suit.
an astronaut.
Mm-hmm. And he's got
it's like clear. It's like, tinted.
Yeah, it's weird because he has the face shield. You don't see his face, but you see like galaxy. So it's like pink, and then when he like laughs or exclaims something, it turns like yellow. It's weird.
Like what's his name on Rick and Morty? You know that, you remember Fart? The
yes,
like, floating spirit ghost guy? Okay.
Yeah. Just like that. Just like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's literally hellbent on procreation. He leaves. Bye. Then you meet Myrtle, who is a female orc, and she's wearing this like jersey, very sports-like persona that she's got going on. She just kind of sits at the bar and is like sideways and is just smizing the whole time.
She sounds like my type.
She's a game developer. Do you want, is that still your type? Because apparently, everybody in this town has some kind of crazy job title. But yeah,
she's
so
like...
What?
Amazing that all of these like prestigious career people have time at midnight to go to a coffee shop.
Right. Oh my word. But also I forgot to mention, by this point Freya has now turned her book studyings and writings to be about this coffee shop and about the people that are coming in. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that's right. She's like, I've got it. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I can't think of any ideas, so I'll steal other people's stories.
Bing, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that's it. Like, even the barista brings it up. The barista's like, you're basically just ripping off people's stories, but okay. And after you meet Myrtle, the game developer, you meet Aqua, who I fell in love with. I love Aqua. She came in and she's this like she's got glasses, so she does have this like nerdy persona characteristic about her, but I love her. She's from Atlantis, and she's basically a mer person, a mer people. She's a mermaid kind of thing. But she, oddly enough, she's into game developing as well, and she's been going to school and making a video game. Oh my god, so wild, right? Like, the fact that
what
you
a
would
coincidence.
I know.
So it's crazy. Wow.
They hit it off right away. They're like, give me your email, and they exchange info. So cute. Aqua can produce her game because she's got a great idea for a game. And then a couple days pass. The FBI comes into the coffee shop and is like, hey, we know that some alien has been here. An alien immigrant is what he called him. Is basically talking about Neil. And he's like, I know he's been in here. He's been dressed in an astronaut suit. We need to find him. So
but it's also a statement on U.S. foreign policy and immigration laws.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, that's how I felt. I was like, the fact that this is being brought up, I was like, this is a statement, obviously. Like, that's exactly where my brain went to, you know? So that's pretty much the story. You just get to hear these people's stories. So as it's starting to conclude, as the game is starting to wind down, you come, each day turns into a compilation of the characters coming together and figuring out where the rest of their story leads. And Lua and Bailey's end up getting together again. They had broken up because of differences family-wise, and then they got back together realizing we love each other. Why would we stay apart? So they got back together.
Yeah.
Freya finishes her book, and it gets published. I know, right? Neil comes back to the shop, oddly enough.
With a girlfriend?
Not yet. Rachel, the cat girl, she moves on. I ended up giving Rachel hot, like, what did I give her? I made like, she wanted something like hot chocolate. And I said, no, I'm giving you like minty milk. Because I just didn't like her character. At the end, I was like, no, you get minty milk.
Gross.
Yeah, but she ends up realizing.
That's amazing. I mean, I did the same exact thing for no reason.
It's worth it. It's so worth it. Just
bad
get
drinks.
It out of your system.
Bad drinks if I don't like you.
She gets kind of reunited with her dad. She understands that her manager's an idiot and moves on and is basically fine from there. A photo collage kind of happens of all the other characters that maybe you didn't give the right drink combination to or whatever. Like, you don't get to see their stories like unfold in front of you. So you just basically get a synopsis of them. But when Neil comes back, he is in the form of a human. And he basically says, drop the act to the barista. And you're like, what?
My act?
My act? You're like, what? And I had to do research. I had to go find something because it's very it's so open-ended that you don't even know what really is going on. But there's DLC and stuff, like extra days and characters you get. Basically, what people have concluded is that the barista is an alien as well, like same kind of species as Neil. Some were even saying that the barista is their offspring, is Neil's offspring. Yeah,
Interesting.
Very, very interesting. I don't even know what to say about this game. I did not enjoy it, but it's not. It's not only because it was a visual novel, it's also the way it was written just didn't resonate with me. I felt like I was a 4-year-old trying to grasp the concept of this game, and like I was being talked down to. It was so weird. It was so strange.
Yeah.
Kind of mad that I spent like $12 on it. I should have played the demo, but regardless, for science,
then we wouldn't have much to talk about.
True.
We'd both be like, yeah, she had green hair. Cool.
Yeah. I did like Freya's hair color. I did not like her character, really. But
that's like one click for her hair color. And
yeah. And it sounded so intriguing because I loved being a barista. It was so fun. So I was immediately intrigued by the game. But anyway, I'll give it a rating. I think I'm gonna give it 2 flicks out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking 2 or 3 flicks also. I think I'm gonna give it 2 flicks.
Okay.
Or clicks.
Oh yeah, clicks.
Yeah. Clickety clack. So just because it's like it did take, I mean, the whole premise, like I said, isn't super original. Like I've seen it kind of done before from that Japanese show. And then on top of that, they just kind of like randomly decided to add like any kind of fantasy character or like alien or movie monster. And I feel like it's not really deciding, it didn't really decide what world it's in. It's like, I'm in Seattle and there are vampires. Oh, and there are orcs. Oh, and there are aliens. And it's like, well, there's like different fantasy, like they don't all live in the same fantasy worlds. You know what I mean? So it's weird. And then it's all in Seattle and then it's at this midnight coffee shop. So I just kind of thought the whole thing was weird. And then on top of that, just it's basically just like reading. So bowling.
Yep. I checked out. The only thing that was fun was the coffee making. And that was even hard. Yeah. Like that wasn't even.
And it wasn't enough.
Yeah. It was
you had
not
to read
enough.
So much.
Yeah.
You know what's fun? Overcooked. That game where you just make stuff and you're like sending it back out. If this game was more like that,
Overcooked.
With coffee, and then a little bit of talking, but I guess it's called coffee talk, not coffee make.
Coffee make. You might be onto something. Overcooked mixed with a visual novel? Come on now. That needs to be made like yesterday.
I need to go find that coffee shop where that athletic web game developer is at so I can pitch my ideas.
Telling you. Gotta do it. She even she had a shaved side like me. And I was like,
ooh.
I love it.
Twins.
So you would officially give it 2 clicks?
I'm gonna go, I'm gonna give it a 2 also.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 2 also because I just don't really think it's that good of a game. It's kind of like those like dating simulators that you get ads for.
Yeah.
When you're like on your phone and stuff on Instagram, you see, and it's like just kind of awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I'm ready. I'll get into that later, but we should move on to the flick because Coffee Talk was That's enough. I said enough.
All right. Yes, tonight's flick, and I'm so excited for this flick because did you already watch it?
I did. I rewatched it today. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Tell me why I cried at the end. I'm like, oh, so beautiful. Tonight's flick is Spirited Away. I think this is new. Okay, every time I watch or rewatch a Hayao Miyazaki movie, I'm like, oh, this one's my favorite.
Right?
So tonight, Spirited Away is my favorite.
It's hard to choose. Spirited Away was my first.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I grew up watching My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service when I was young.
Kiki's too,
and then Spirited Away came out, and I know some fun facts about this movie. Spirited Away was the first anime and only anime to win an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
No shit, really?
Uh-huh. And it was in 2001. And here's my favorite the funnest part about this fact is that the director, Hayao Miyazaki, refused to go to the awards ceremony. And he wouldn't say why at first because Disney didn't let him say why he wasn't going. But in 2009, he made it known that the reason he didn't go was he was protesting against America's invasion of Iraq. So he was really against that, and so he refused to go to the Academy Awards.
I got chills. Oh,
mm-hmm.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. So Hayao Miyazaki is super, he is very pro environment. He believes that humans and our spirits are connected with the environment, I think. And I think that comes out a lot in his films.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely like a peacemaker. So, I think that was a big deal for him to not go to the Academy Awards when it was literally the only movie that's ever won, of his. So,
wow.
And this movie was the highest, like, box office grossing film, I think still is in Japan, is the, like, number one
really
of all time.
No.
I think so.
Rightfully so, honestly.
It's... Okay, so let's get into it. So we start off with a family that's moving, and there are so many things I want to say about this movie, too, that I love so much. So Chihiro is the young girl, and her family is moving to a new town, but they kind of get lost on the way to their new house, and the dad takes a shortcut down this path that has a bunch of, like, spiritual symbols, little shrines that we see, and we're kind of see that they're driving off into a path that's kind of leading them to the spirit world. Mm-hmm. When they get to the spirit world, they don't really know what it is yet. It's still daylight for them, and it looks like an abandoned theme park, like an amusement park. But the mom is like, oh, that's interesting. These are all restaurants. And they smell food, like, being cooked in the distance. So they're like, oh, let's go check it out, see what's going on over there. They go, and Chihiro is like, I don't want to partake in any of this. Like, this looks like a bad idea. And I think that this is kind of like foretelling of how this show or this movie is telling us that the kids are more connected spiritually than the adults, because the mom and dad, they're just kind of like, oh, let's go. They're about, like, consumerism and, like, taking what they can, and they're being greedy, and they're like, okay, we're just going to eat all this food. Yeah. And Chihiro, like, knows there's something inside of her telling her, like, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this.
Right. But
she goes wandering off, and she ends up finding a bathhouse, and she meets Haku, which is he's kind of like helps run the bathhouse. He's like the right-hand man of the main witch who owns it. But he sees Chihiro and sees that she's a human girl, and he's like, oh, we gotta, like, save her. I'm gonna try and get her out of here before. So he's like, go, like, get out of here before the sun sets, or else you'll be trapped. And she runs back down, and she goes to get her parents, and she sees that they were turned into pigs because they were being so greedy. And they were just eating and eating and eating until they literally turned into pigs. And she runs and keeps running and gets to the river where she has to cross to get back to the human world. And it's too late. It's already dark. And she just is like, sits down and just kind of gives up. And she starts turning invisible, like she starts to disappear. So Haku comes and gives her a berry and says that she needs to eat from the spirit world in order to stay there and remain. And I guess this comes from an old Japanese, one of their creation stories kind of has this same kind of principles where there was a brother and sister, and the sister ended up having to go down to like essentially what hell would be, or like the underworld, and she isn't allowed to leave because she has already eaten the food. So this is like an old once you eat the food of this world, that's like you're there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that was from old Japanese folklore, which a lot of the monsters, actually, I was watching some videos and they almost explained every monster, even in the background, are not monsters, but spirits, actually are kind of reflections or based on old Japanese folklore.
Oh, wow.
And different spirits in the, I want to say, Shinto religion. So Shinto is the religion that most of the spirits and the lore in this film is based off of.
I see.
So she eats the berry and she's able to stay in the spirit world, but in order to stay, Haku tells her that she needs to get a job, or else she would be turned into a pig. So she goes down to the boiler room and starts begging the boiler man for a job.
I love his character so much.
Yeah, his name is Kamaji.
Kamaji.
Which I guess is a translation to old boiler man.
Really?
Yeah. And he's kind of like this spider-looking guy. He has 6 arms that he walks on, and his legs just kind of float behind him. And his arms extend, and he's able to like do all these things and get all these things done. And he has all of these little dust mites that he has enchanted that are his little helpers. And they're the same as the little dust mites in My Neighbor Totoro. They're super cute, and I guess these are one of the only like creatures in the movie that isn't really based off of folklore, but is actually from just like a creation of Hayao Miyazaki's own mind, where he's like, I'm gonna make these cute little dust balls.
Yeah.
And you know what they kind of remind me of? Those little dust mites that you fight in Stardew Valley in the mines.
Yes!
They have those little monsters that come out, and I'm like, those are the cutest ones to fight.
Yeah. I always love the soot sprites. They like the amount of love. It's like a staple from the movie. I love them so much.
So he refuses to give her a job, but she ends up going with and meeting this girl, Lynn, who is in the American dub version.
I forget her name. She's the voice actor for Meg, right? In Hercules?
Yes. What's her name?
I can't remember. I'm sad because I actually saw her in concert.
I want to say...
Oh, that's gonna bother me. Go ahead. And the Chihiro's voice actor is Lilo's voice actor from Lilo and Stitch, right?
Yes, it's Susan Egan.
Thank you.
Yes,
Ugh.
and then DeVay Chase is the American Chihiro.
Yes.
But actually, in the Japanese version, Chihiro is voiced by a girl named Rumi Hiragi, and she was the first child to voice a child in a Hayao Miyazaki film. All movies before that, the children were voiced by adults.
That's a big deal.
But they really wanted to bring, like, that real spirit of youth and innocence into this movie.
Yeah.
So this was the first one with having voiced by a real child.
That's precious. Oh.
So she meets Lynn. So she meets Lynn, and Lynn ends up walking her through the bathhouse. But they kind of get separated from each other, and she ends up with the witch who runs the bathhouse, Yubaba. Yubaba. And Yubaba is this, like, she's just this, like, short woman with a giant head and a giant baby.
I forgot about the baby. Ugh.
Bigger baby. And I've seen some big babies. But this baby is huge.
Yeah. Like towers over her. Huge.
Yeah. But the baby ends up being nice. But so Haku helps Chihiro with So Haku brings Chihiro over to the pig stable so that she can see her parents, and basically tells her, like, okay, you have to remember which ones are your parents, and you have to remember your real name.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she meets Yubaba and gets a job with her, Yubaba takes her name. Yubaba ends up taking her name and giving her a new name, Sen. So here's what's interesting, too, about this, is that Chihiro is translated to mean 1,000 questions or 1,000 searches, which is kind of, telling us what Chihiro's gonna be doing on this in this film, right? Like, this is her destiny.
Mm-hmm.
When Yubaba takes away her name and gives her the name Sen means 1,000. And so that's kind of representative of showing, like, she's not even seeing her as a name anymore. She's just a number now. This is her, like, she's a worker, and now she's part of the machine that's just going to keep everything running and keep Yubaba on top, living in luxury, and keep everyone working for her, living in the slums and doing everything they can to keep her successful. So Haku tells her, it's so important that you remember your name, Chihiro, because if you forget your name, you're going to forget your past. And I think that also is, like, kind of telling of how they see it so important, or he's telling how important it is to remember your name. And your name is kind of where you come from. It's your past and it's your ancestry. You know what I mean? So kind of keeping that and holding that remembrance and holding that to a certain standard of respect and importance. It's important to know who you are and know your name. And that's what Haku is telling Chihiro, don't forget that, or else you're going to lose you.
Right.
Who you are. But back at the bathhouse, Chihiro's basically, like, the newest one there, so she's getting the worst jobs. They make her go and clean the big bathtub, which hasn't been cleaned in months, and it's, like, gross and slimy and sludgy. And they're literally in the middle of scrubbing it, and they're like, this is going to take days to scrub off. And they're like, oh, the customer's coming now. Come and, take care of it. So they're basically like, okay, we got to hurry up and just let's fill it with, like, some water that's like has a bunch of herbs in it, so it's super mucky and you can't see the sludge at the bottom of the tub.
Mm-hmm.
So they fill it with water, and a giant stink spirit comes into the bathhouse. And basically, as punishment, they send it to Chihiro so that she has to take care of it. And this thing is humongous.
Mm.
It is.
It is. It's huge.
Filling up the bathhouse with this like awful stench, and everyone's like, Chihiro covers her nose, or at this point Sen covers her nose, and Yubaba's like, don't do that, you're gonna insult him, but like that's how it like pungent and intense this smell was.
Mm-hmm.
She gives him a bath, and she ends up like having to literally pour the faucet like directly on him and have just like a never-ending stream of hot water pouring over this monster, and it's like sludge coming out everywhere. And he's holding her up in his hand under the water, and she reaches in and feels something hard, and she's like, there's a thorn stuck in him, and she tries to get the rope around him. And what I like in this scene is like, it's such a short moment, but she's not able to get it around, and Lin immediately like goes in and wraps it around. And I think that's just such a statement of like, this is something the animators chose to do, is like Lin's hands are more capable because she's an adult, so she got in there and got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
When Sen was struggling with something. So it's like when Sen is struggling with something, she has someone there to support and to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was just really sweet. So they throw the rope back and everybody starts pulling on. They think this is a thorn, but it's actually a bike handle. And they pull out, and it's like popping the biggest zit, but instead of pus, it's all sludge and pollution. And it's like a bike and a dumpster and tires and just all this garbage and trash is coming out. And we realize that it's not a stink spirit, it's actually the river spirit, and he had just been polluted by so long that he was like disgusting. And when he finally got all that stuff cleared out, he was so thankful for Sen that he gave her a little ball of medicine, like spirit medicine,
Mm-hmm.
to have as like a life boost for future times of need.
Yeah.
And he goes off in the shape of a dragon, which I forgot to mention before, but it is similar to the dragon that we see Haku form into after he shows Chihiro Sen her parents.
Mm-hmm.
So after she goes back to the bathhouse, she watches Haku turn into a dragon and fly away, which is kind of a similar looking as this river dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about this story is that Hayao Miyazaki actually based that off of when he was cleaning out a river, and him and his friends found a bike handle in the river, and they had to tie a rope around it to clean it out because it was like stuck underneath. So that was like based off of a true event in his life.
Oh my god. What a
So
wholesome
that's so,
human.
Like, I know, I love this man
yes.
so much. And all of this. So after that spirit leaves, we also know that Sen had let in another spirit into the bathhouse. And this one's a little bit scarier. This one is called No Face. And basically, No Face offers gold to people in the bathhouse to bring him food. But he's just endless consumption, just like bringing more and more and more and giving him gold. And the workers are so overtaken by their greed that they're just like, you know, letting this monster become bigger and bigger and bring him everything until he ends up actually eating two of the people there, two of the workers. And then they're like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good thing. So they end up having Yubaba bring Sen in to try and get him out of there. But Sen was up in Yubaba's room while Yubaba was down there dealing with that, watching Haku as a dragon being attacked by these little paper, like airplane. They were like little birds cut out of papers, looking like almost, just going around like magically enchanted and trying to hurt him and trying to just take him down. So Sen, or Chihiro Sen, is calling him in the room and tries to get the door closed before they can get in, but he's like super hurt, and Yubaba's twin sister ends up showing up because she's the one who enchanted those. And she's like, you know what, he stole my seal, so he's gonna die. And this baby, my nephew, he's gonna be a mouse now. These three heads over here, they're gonna be the baby. And this other bird, crow, that's Yubaba's little twin crow little friend, is also gonna be just a tiny little blackbird or something.
Yeah, crow thing.
Like a sparrow or something. But so now Sen gets the baby who's a mouse, and she's like now protecting them. So this is where they become friends. And she and Haku end up falling from Yubaba's like penthouse at the top of the bath all the way down to the boiler room. And now she's in the boiler room with, you know, the person who's willing to help her, Kamaji. And, okay, so once they're in the boiler room, then Haku spits up the gold seal, and on the seal is a little black slug that Sen squashes with her foot and kills. And then they have to do this thing, like, where you put your thumb and finger together and he cuts it in half to get the dark spirit off of her. And what I love about the animators is that as then they're telling the story, they do like a side cut where they show the little mouse and the little birds like running around and reenacting where they're like stomp and then they do this little thing. So it's like just like a little moment of comedic relief in the animation. But basically she learns she has to go to Yubaba's twin to get him fixed or whatever. He spits up the seal because she force feeds him the medicine that the other river spirit spirit gave her. So she force fed that medicine to Haku. And fun fact about this scene is when they animated it, they were studying a veterinarian who was giving a dog medication that the dog didn't want to swallow. So the dragon, the jaws and the teeth are all based off of that dog, and the way it struggled and stuff, it was so intense and so real because it was based off a real dog.
Wow. That would make sense because that scene is always stuck out in my head. That's crazy.
So Sen gets No Face to basically throw up everything he's been eating, and she gets him out of the bathhouse. She's like, I think the bathhouse is making him crazy because he wasn't mean when I met him outside. Yeah. So we learned that like this need for like consumerism and this like excessive consumption and endless greed that is represented by the bathhouse just does like negative effects to anyone who gets sucked in by those powers. Do you know what I mean? Even this spirit, this No Face spirit. So she gets him out of the bathhouse, and they get on the train to go see Yubaba's twin, whose name is Zeniba.
That's right.
Yeah. Zeniba. And this moment on the train where they're just like paused was like an intentional moment for Hayao Miyazaki to give the audience like a break from action.
Yeah.
He wanted them to be able to enjoy the art and to take a breath and to take a moment to process the world that they're in and to realize that not everything in the movie has to be shot by shot, something happening.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be able to slow it down. And I think that it's just a beautiful scene, and I think that it's such an iconic scene for that reason.
Yes.
That it's like relaxing and calming to watch that scene on the train, especially after everything that
is a lot to digest.
Far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they get to Zeniba, she's basically the opposite of her twin. Mm-hmm. She's like, we look exactly alike, but we're total opposite. She's like, girl, call me Granny. Let me give you some tea and cookies. Like,
she's the best.
Basically takes care of her. And while she's there, Haku makes a deal with Yubaba.
Oh, yeah.
So then Haku makes a deal with Yubaba while Sen is at Zeniba's to say, like, release her and, like, her parents and let them go back to the human world. And so Yubaba agrees to this if he says, I'll get you your baby back if you do this. Right. Let her go. And Yubaba's like, okay, fine, but I get to test her one more time. While Sen is at Zeniba's, Zeniba gives her a little, like, hair tie made out of memories. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So that she can, like, always keep her most important things close to her, right? So as they're leaving Zeniba's house, Chihiro is now remembering where she met Haku before, and she tells the story of when she was a little girl and she was drowning in the Kahaku River and she was saved. And she goes, that was you, wasn't it? You were the spirit of the river and you saved me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's my name. I remember it now. The Kahaku River, that was my name. And she says, it's not there anymore. They paved over it and it's all apartments now. And he's like, well, that explains why I couldn't remember where I came from and I couldn't remember my home. And this movie came at a time in Japan where they had, I guess, just had their big, like, economic crash. Before, I guess, generations beforehand were more spiritually inclined, and then there was a big boom where people just became more capitalistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of things that were lost was that Hayao Miyazaki is, like, showing in this, with this being the spirit of the river, is that if the world isn't made for humans to just do with as we want, it's, like, here for us. If it's really other things have spirits just like us, then the things that we're doing have bigger consequences, than just what we see. And losing this spirit of the river, this spirit's now not able to go home.
Yeah.
But after he remembers who he is, and after they remember why they knew each other before, he ends up taking her back to Yubaba, and she has her final test, which is she shows her all these pigs and says, okay, which ones are your parents? And Chihiro, like, without even questioning, is like, is this a joke? Like, none of these are my parents. And they all turn back into other people, and they're like, yay, you got it, you won, you get to go home. It was a trick question. So they end up going back, and Haku tells her, go and don't turn around and look back until you get to the other side of the station, of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, where are my parents? He's like, they're already in their human form on the other side of the river. Just go find them and then go back. And they end up walking back to their car, and it's covered in leaves, like it had been there for days. And the parents are like, what? What's this? Like, is this a joke? We've only been gone for a few moments, but it's really been like, who knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Japanese version, and the way that Hayao Miyazaki like directed and intended it to be, is that Chihiro now, after she passes through, then doesn't have any memories of the spirit world, and it was all a dream.
Oh, wow.
But the one thing she does have left from it is the hair tie, and that kind of has a little glimmer at the end when she leaves. But in the American version, there's a line at the end of the movie where the dad says, starting a new school, making new friends can be kind of scary. And Chihiro goes, I think I can handle it, kind of in a joking way, and it kind of makes it seem like she has gone through a lot.
Right.
But I think that's not, I don't think that's like really how the original version intended. I think that she's not supposed to have remembered her journey. But just some things that I really love about this movie is like, Hayao Miyazaki wanted to make a movie for little girls that wasn't about crushes and falling in love and meeting a prince. He was like, my friends' kids who have girls this age, like, I don't really think that's what they want. I want to make a movie where they are the heroine,
Yeah.
And I just think that's like, I just think that's so cool for this movie.
And for its time, and especially, I mean, I can't really speak a lot about the Japanese culture, especially at that time, but that's a huge deal. Like, massive. And
yeah,
I think that's...
because this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, literally. It's also amazing that we can use animated movies and TV shows to portray that, where, like you said, just 20 years ago, that difference makes all the difference later on, and how important it is to certain people in life,
Yeah. And one thing I love about Hayao Miyazaki movies is how, like, useful the themes are in them, and how you actually can learn something from it.
Right.
This movie has so many statements on, like, the dangers of capitalism and consumerism and being greedy. And it's like, this is all now still very relevant to today. Like,
absolutely.
This is something that is absolutely, like, at the forefront of discussion, is, what a mess this system has gotten us in,
Absolutely. I can tell you right now that the intense memory that I have of No Face eating those people, the frog in particular, because the frog goes down there late at night.
That was fast.
And I was like,
but it's his greed that gets him devoured. Like, he wants more gold, and so he gets punished.
That was such a fire under my ass to not be greedy, because I didn't want to be eaten by No Face. Like, I shit you not, I had nightmares of being eaten by No Face.
Yeah.
Even though he spit them all back up, like.
When this movie came out on VHS, I rented it from the library, and I was sick, though. And so that night I had, like, sick dreams. like sick nightmares about it.
No.
It took me a long time to be able to watch this movie again. I actually don't think I've watched it since then. And so I watched it again now and I'm like, ugh, wow, this is intense, but I can see as a child, like,
yeah,
this movie is so fantastical. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like there's another word to describe it because everything is so magical. And the way that the Haku is still can, like, go into his dragon form, his, like, river spirit form. And we see that when the river spirit gets cleaned out from all his junk, he flies off just as the same dragon. And, you know, that's also from, like, Japanese folklore that dragons are connected with guarding water in the rivers. And so this movie is just has so much. It's like every scene, every character in the background, every detail is intentional. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Serves
it's so good. Great purpose. Yeah.
I can't give this movie anything but 10 flicks. Like, all 10.
All 10. And I'm going to second that. 10 out of 10 flicks for me. This genre of movie, just him alone, the amount of fucking bangers this guy made. Just so good. But Spirited Away in particular, for me, and I would assume a lot of people, actually, because this movie just by itself is just beautifully
This movie
written.
Like broke so many records and kind of set the bar so high. I think, like, I don't know. There's a part too that when they're visiting Zeniba's house, there's like a little lantern that is leading the way for them. It's like hopping along the ground.
Yes.
That's an homage to the Pixar lantern in the beginning that hops on and jumps on the little eye. They decided to give a little wink to Pixar.
That's
because
cute.
These were two animation studios that were kind of coming to rise at the same time, and they were kind of giving them a little, like, yeah, we see you. We like what you do. We see that we're the ones changing the game in animated movies.
Yes. That's awesome. And it's funny because I was watching it today, Elias immediately pointed to it and was like, light. And I was like, that's right. It's a light. So it particularly sticks out to me because it's so
so cute.
I wonder if in the future, if he gets to watch those movies, if he's going to have the same feelings that we do about it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They're so good. This movie is really just a masterpiece. It's also the first Studio Ghibli film to be, like, licensed with Walt Disney and like Walt Disney Company, and for them to have the rights to like, what's the word? Distribution rights to make an American version. So,
which is really
that's
neat.
why we have those Disney voices in it. We have Devay Chase, who is Lilo, and we have Susan Egan, who is Meg and Belle in the Broadway.
That's they couldn't have went a better route with it, because it was just the voice acting takes, especially from dubbed, like, TV series or even movies, it's so crucial you get great voice actors for it, because
even in the American dub, even Haku is voiced by Jason Marsden, who's a Disney guy. He's the Goofy movie.
Oh, really? Oh, how funny. That's awesome.
There's just so much I love about this movie, and I love about Hayao Miyazaki after learning about, like, his intentions and his decisions for this movie. I just love it.
I have a question for you. It was something I didn't pay attention to literally until today. And it's something I didn't put two and two together until today. So when in the beginning of the movie, they're talking about Chihiro leaving her old school and going to a new one, like making new friends. So my immediate thought was, okay, she's in middle school. That's like where my brain goes. Just based, like, because they don't tell you exactly. And then they say, well, in order to break Haku's spell, or curse, you should say, it's love, right? Mm-hmm. And then as the movie had progressed, I was starting to get, like, my brain immediately went to, well, they're so young. Like, why are they talking about love? And then my brain went to, well, brother and sister kind of feel. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about it?
So here's the thing, is that I think that love, when we hear it, we kind of have a, like...
an immediate, like, romantic
feel. Love. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I think that what we get from this movie, and I think what's obvious, is that it's not a romantic love. They don't kiss. They don't hold hands. They don't hug. No. They don't love each other romantically. She loves the river.
Right. No,
it's a love for nature, and it's love in the sense of, like, a true connection, but it's like you're one with nature, right? And these spirits are part of our world as well, and we work together, and, like, they can save us and we can save them, right? You know,
right?
And I think that's the kind of love that she learns, and Chihiro is really, she's just a good soul, because everyone in the movie, she is respectful towards them. She assumes the best out of everyone she meets, even all the spirits. Like, she's not a scared person. When she gets a job, she doesn't sit there and cry and say, I don't want to work. You know, she's going slower than everyone else, but she's scrubbing the floor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She's doing it. Because I mean, when I watched it when I was younger, I had a horrible disposition of love. And I felt, even when I first watched this movie, which I was probably 10 or 11 at the time, which was Chihiro's age, when I watched it, it was a romantic thing for me. And I was 10, right? When I watched it today, I felt, now I like that you said a love of nature, because that also kind of makes me think more inside of what was actually supposed to be portrayed. But I also felt more of, like, a brother and sister connection, that like almost like a nature but related like relationship.
Yeah, and like family.
Yeah, and it's crazy how over time and how misconstrued something can be when you are so young and you have so much life to learn, that's what your brain goes to when you hear love.
I think that
it's crazy.
I think that can be representative of the society that you are brought up in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because as 10-year-old girls, like, growing up in a small town, what are we really being taught is like the end all be all. It's like, you're gonna graduate high school and find a husband, like
right.
Whereas perhaps in different cultures where it's not so much, the focus is to, like, have a companion,
right?
But, you know, where they're able to more accurately express different kinds of love, and having a love in the sense of, like, being respectful for the world around you. You know what I mean?
Right. I love it. I love.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go watch the rest of the movies just because I want to see what my brain thinks of it now, as opposed to when I first saw them. But it's crazy.
I know, I love that movie. So good.
I'm glad you picked this one in particular, especially just given prior circumstances. Like, it was such a breath of fresh air.
I'm so happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Yay! So that concludes.
That is the conclusion of tonight's episode, y'all. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for watching.
We love talking to you.
Yes.
We're excited that the Animal Crossing updates are coming out this week.
Yes! Can't wait! Please feel free to comment, subscribe.
Like. I found a video of my niece stealing my phone a few months ago, and it's just like the top of her head, but in the video, she's like, "Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hit that bell." So hit that bell.
Hit that bell. Fucking stay in tune with us. Email us when you can. I'm telling you.
And tell us your suggestions. We want to hear from you guys. What movies do you want to hear us talk about? What games do you like? Mm-hmm. We will play them.
Also,
and
since we're moving on to the streaming realm, give us recommendations of what you want us to watch TV show wise.
Yeah. Send us every type of media that you want us to talk about, and we will talk about it and record it.
Yes.
And get it out there.
In your honor. Well, thanks for listening.
And with that,
go ahead.
We're going to catch her on the clickety flick side.
Clickety flick side. Peace. Peace and love.
Motherfuckers.